So, continuing on, I began to talk about um, spiritual bypassing, and I think it's becoming so relevant when we approach 2030 and when we approach the idea of like one world religion and we approach what people call a spiritual warfare. So, I was just watching a Teal's one, and while I don't agree with every little thing, person says, but she was talking about a video that she saw about, I don't know, men not taking the trash or something of that sort. And then for the women, the comments were all, dump him, he's a jerk, he's a this, he's a that. Now she took it to her friend, her boyfriend. She said, you see, you do that. All the girls say, I should dump you. And then, but the guy goes to that video. From his algorithm, all the boys' comments. Okay? How should you let a woman treat you like that, disrespect you like that, ta 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 ta, you should dump her. And so I noticed that, and this is so funny. I guess I never noticed that because for me, I was always, even when I tried to say, like my previous rant is like, oh, it's difficult to be a woman. But like, well, yes, it's also difficult to be a man. And two genders or gender non-conforming or whatever. But that's just another one of the divide and conquer. Okay? And it can be a little facet of Aries in Aries. Okay? Because in Andromeda is where people begin to reconcile things. Okay? For example, if you actually walked out of violence, like I had to walk out of an apartment because the person I was with was psychically attacked and he began to attack me. Okay, it's like a zombie. But also internally, it was becoming too much for him. When it came to spiritual stuff and I began to channel, he was afraid that I will surpass. Like, I don't know why was he afraid of that, but it's just not acknowledging his own power. And that was, unfortunately, when you have fear, then they leech on it, and that was that. Okay, so when you walk out of violence, so you see what the housing situation, what it is, what that, you see everything is so difficult. So you're like, there's both the, hey, why should I be walking when they did the violence? And at the same time, there's to understand that even if they decided that they're walking, where would they go? So, in essence, people, it's not that they come to reconcile in the sense that they will live together forever and after. But when it comes to solutions, they come to reconcile to the fact that we need to change what? The architecture. Both social and the physical. What is architecture? It's masonry. Okay? We need to change the masonry. And you see, even in Amsterdam, where there was, we had the picture of the porches, okay, for the porches with the Ukrainian flag, Israeli flag, Palestinian flag, and pride flag. And we said, this is Amsterdam, okay? Then, of course, on the Ajax versus what is Maccabi Tel Aviv game, they had to bring in something. And it's their duty. They have to do this for the cult. So when we talk about the spiritual bypass, it's going to be more and more relevant now with all the religious wars. Whether it's channeling, whether it's teachings, whether it's religion, there is something called a love language. And so if the love language of a religion, okay, It's not compatible with you. It's not loving. For example, if I think about Christianity, well, good thing and loving thing is love is patient, love is kind, okay? It's not envious, it is not proud. Now, of course, people can be envious and can be proud, but in general, love is loving, right? Love does not delight in evil, but it rejoices in truth, okay? There's something that I can say this is beautiful. But another thing is, I am not worthy, but the Lord still loves me, okay? This is toxic. It's toxic love language, okay? It's thinking you are not worthy. Of Judaism, I don't know so much. There was this. Everybody was Malchut David, the kingdom of David, and David was a serial rapist, and Solomon was even worse. And then there was exile, and they rape people and show the blood on the white sheet, and they call this marriage. I don't know what. And still do genital mutilation. I mean, I'm sure there are good things about Judaism, but I don't remember them right now. Oh, is something good about Judaism? They say you need to love the goy, okay, that which is not Jew, because you were goyim, okay, you were also the foreigners in Egypt. Then, okay, you need to love the foreigners, okay, to treat them well. Very relevant for the whole world right now, and very challenging. That's good thing. Bad thing is people still worship King David, still do genitalia mutilation. There is a good movement against this. And there is still an Orthodox, like a Sharia law. We have Orthodox rabbinical jury in Israel. It's like a Sharia law. Even if you married a civil wedding, you need to divorce by the rabbinical damfuckery. And they have weird ceremonies. Okay, I think once the husband had to throw a shoe and say, you are divorced, you are divorced, you are divorced. 3 times, like Satan. Baal. The name they call husband, the Hebrew word for husband is Baal. Yes, as secular people, we say ishi, which means mein man. Okay, mein Ehemann, mein Mann. But the thing about, okay, if the love in that religion is not loving, then you take what is loving, and for the rest you discard. It's not a part of the no, and that's the thing. It's the difference between a spiritual practice or even a religion and the cult. Now, this is going to be very important for many people right now, because I tell you what the good thing about the divide and conquer thing that happens right now is that a lot more people deal with a lot more problems. Okay? Let's talk about financial violence, okay? So, for example, I was listening to Evolving Butterfly Empress, okay? And she had a tip for people that are married to have a bank account that is a business, joint business. It sounded like a good advice because it's easier to dissolve than... But then I read on Facebook, story of a woman. She was married to her husband. She had estates. He had estates. Everybody had their own wealth. They opened joint business account. Then she got pregnant. She said, okay, I will raise children for 10 years. Then I go to study, do something for myself. Legit. Came those 10 years, she still had the States, everything, okay? Came to study. He didn't want to let her study. He took entire account in debt. One day, poof. She was left with 3 children. And then she said, oh, thank you to this forum, Michal Sela, this fund that helps women. It's like, what, thank you? They left you homeless with 3 kids, no support. You have to sue the very weird husband that is for sure a cult member in order to get something, because the state, you have rights from the state, but you have to sue him first. And those things now, it's a terrible thing, but what the thing is that it's now pandemic, so many people deal with same problem. What happens when many people with same problem has solution? And this is also the time of the guillotine, so it's fantastic. Everybody will say, enough of these division cults. Enough of enslaving women, taking the property, taking the this, taking the that. But they take the men that do that, and kaput al gol. You should see how African women treated rapists. This is something that, you know, I saw once in a movie. Woman tie up all these men and just poof, burning. And you see what's happening in there. It looks like a Holocaust. No, that these men were all rapists. This also happens in Africa, okay? I mean, that's life. If she has no protection, then she has to take law into her hands, right? So one woman 2 weeks, another woman 2 weeks, another woman 2 weeks, and then comes one that kaput al gol. And you never know which one. So the thing is, another place where you find spiritual bypasses is, of course, what? Therapy, consultation. And all of these methods of therapy. Now, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of self-reflection. It's always good to look at your behavior. Yes, but if somebody violates your boundaries consistently, even if you need to learn how to set boundaries, you might need some space from them. And that means housing, that means food, that means income, that means support. And there's another thing with boundaries. In order to set boundary and keep it, you need to have your well-being. This is why in law there is the principle of the soft skull. When it comes to frauds, when it comes to violence. Now everybody knows that. Everybody knows that the boundary is a boundary. They know that it is wrong. They know that they're crossing the boundary. They know that. But they rely on nobody having to enforce that. So nobody enforces, nobody enforces, nobody enforces. Then it's a chaotic system, okay? Reaches the threshold, kaput al gol. North Korea, okay, sent troops to fight against Ukraine, right? What do you think that probably millions by now, soldiers, North Korean, they go over to see the infrastructure in Russia is amazing. So they say, I didn't travel because Putin has Chiron in the 4th house in Capricorn. So what he did, he took care, his own Chiron remediation was to take care of the infrastructure, Capricorn, in the entire motherland. So you see, they will see great infrastructure, great nature, great architecture, food from all over the world, lifestyle completely different, okay? And so this country, North Korea, that was this closed place that nobody enters, and if they do, they immediately end up in some death camp because everything is forbidden. It's very impossible not to break the law. That's the story that Julian exposed, where Kim Jong-un was turned into Hillary Clinton. And he said, there is a man, a US man here in the jail. Please, please, please take him away from here. Now that man, of course, could be spy, but he still did not want to mess with the United States. And he said, all I ask is you to respect that I'm Supreme Leader of North Korea, that you won't decapitate me, you won't remove, you won't make revolution here, and you can take this man, please. I don't want problems, okay? Hillary Clinton tried to turn, and this time she was okay. She was defending pedos and stuff like that, yes, of course, but this time she was okay. And I know there are other lawyers in Netherlands that defend pedos. In fact, there aren't any that don't. That's why Tahi represented himself. So he wouldn't go babysitting. Anyway, Hillary goes to entire parliament, and so she gets a blockade. They dry her up. So that guy remains in North Korea. On the other hand, for Julian Assange, they went everywhere. I just have to say handsome Edma because it's Mercury retrograde. Now I had to get it off my chest. So, we understand that even when it comes to the most closed countries that nobody could reach, even in these countries, at times where they go to war, this will not be same North Korea. All of these soldiers, they won't go back to being orderly. That's not, it's not, they breach the place where after you go and see freedom, okay, you can't go back to that confiscating place. I think also Kim Jong-un would not want to anymore. It's like, because it is such a relief when you don't have to exert so much power over people. It is such a relief. Yes, after his Pluto square. Okay? Had Pluto 29, has Pluto 29 degrees Libra. Okay? Pluto square. So enough. Because he was envious of all these American leaders. He was so admiring of America because he thought America was free. So he was envious of all these American leaders. He wanted to be like America. So maybe now he will get to be leader like in America. He declares war on America, okay? Now like an empire, a big, a that, a McDonald's, and I don't know. He likes to smoke, he likes to drink, to tell jokes, hang out. That's it, okay? But that's the thing, when people go to war, they don't come back the same person, both in terms of trauma, but also sometimes if the place you came for was so traumatic, then in terms of freedom. It's like, hey, the battlefield a bit more free than the working camp at home. Maybe that is why Hitler wanted to fight with Germany when he was living in Austria. I don't know how did the regime look like back then, but he could not be an officer. Like, you never know. And so what this crisis creates, it's terrible things, but what it also creates is that people travel. When in COVID, for example, I fled violence, I traveled, I was with Israeli passport, Iraqi author in the shelter saying, oh, entire region of Middle East should be like a world heritage. There's so many cultures, richness of this, richness of that. People from Algeria, no problem with me. A girl that was not from North Korea that escaped. She was dancing and she loved the fact that I was moving my body. Okay, if it like dancing and martial arts. Never a problem to say I'm Israeli with a passport, half Dutch, half Israeli. Even the municipality told me go to the immigration because they wanted to help me, but they were saying that it was like cold, fallen face that they're sick of their own country, but they have the communication. Okay, so I thought they were against me, but no. And immigration says I try to show for my Dutch passport why they send me here, and they say, okay, I don't know why they send you here. You're Dutch. So no problem to show Israeli passport. Everybody knew. No problem. Before 7th October, you could be Israeli, Netherlands, no problem. Muslim people, Arab people, no problem. Moroccan, Algerian, Iraqi, Irani, the social worker that helped me was Iranian. She made sure that they bring me for the breakfast of what I like, that I like this for what I like. Anyway, then she made sure. Then the machine was gone, then they didn't feed me, but fuck. She escaped from Iran, okay? Which is understandable. But then they bring so much refugees that on purpose people won't be able to contain, and they make sure they create these hubs of people that disrespect women's rights, that this, that, so people will have a reason. Because in Germany, even in Israel, when they wanted to treat that problem, in Israel, I was speaking with a woman. I was working in human resources, speaking with the woman. The papers were by a husband in jail. I am very angry. Why did the police arrest him? Why do they arrest people? Because they're refugees, because of this. I called the husband in jail. And he says to me, very helplessly, I am in jail because in Israel you cannot beat the wife. If they would jail in every Israeli that beats the wife, we would not have problems. And so I understand that in this case, that's that even a broken clock is correct twice a day. That was one of these twice that the police was actually doing something. Did I tell you about the Tamagotchi they offer for a technological solution against violence from men? Woman needs a safety house, or man, okay, needs a safety house, a good canine to watch. No, get a Tamagotchi or something. I don't know, but it's this technological solution. A house is a technology, a bank account is a technology. No, they don't help with that. What is technological solution? I think 1997 is when they had this Tamagotchi. Do we have a Tamagotchi again? I don't know. Maybe they give that to the man. He will play with the Tamagotchi, not to beat the wife. That he can control. You give food thrice a day. It's all in your control. Salamat. That was also the time, 1997 was also the time everything was technology. Robotics. Everything robotics. Also the people, but I didn't know about it back then. There's nothing wrong about technology, okay? But then, sometimes you need something that actually solves the problem. So more about those spiritual bypasses. You will get them from channelers and readers and astrologers as well, because if they're not updated, and they cannot be updated if they're all Masons, right? It's not allowed. The cult does not allow. I had a Facebook friend that worked in a publicity office, that was a founder of a publicity office in Switzerland. That worked with Zuckerberg and so on, and all the pedos. But she had no idea that she's working with all the pedos. And the thing is that she was really up and up in the whole the holistic healing and this and the readers and the channelers and astrologers. And then she got betrayed. Why? Because they're all in the cult. So of course she got the wrong readings, and she also like a good singer and musician. So she got betrayed because they will tell her things so that she wouldn't rise. But unfortunately, in her publicity office, she says this as well. She says, you are amazing, you are this, you are that, okay? When it comes to the money time, the competition is very difficult. Okay, fine, but I work astrologer meantime. No, you cannot. This is hoax, this is that, but you cannot. Okay, where do I work? At the pizza, but they sell drugs there. Come see me, I don't sell drugs, I don't sell this. Yes, you got family with husband and children, but now they see a woman that wants to take some time, not to go from one relationship to another when she hasn't recovered, or fuck. Immediately what they try to recruit, then she tries to question for me, then I understood I'm no longer speaking with the person. But other than that, she was indeed betrayed by these people, because they are all in a cult, and in the cult you have to betray people. Even though it hurts their income, it hurts the profession, it hurts everything. That is the if you think about psychology, there's so many good things about like attachment patterns. If you keep the right tool in the right context, then all the things that are spiritual bypass can be used as not bypass if you keep it in context, okay? It's good to reflect upon yourself. It's good to see if there's something mirrored there. There's good insight, but the cult will not allow that. You have to betray. If patient is recovering, you have to bring them down. It's by design. And the more you try to, like I said in previous video, to take responsibility over your life, the more that exposes the cult. Now, the good thing about these things is that we are all dealing with that. Once you get that, this is what they say, spiritual warfare. Once you get that, you understand what's going on. And as society, Okay, we need to get that. And this is why I say, if the love language of your religion, your therapy, the modality, the philosophy, okay, is not loving, it's not good for you. A pioneer in that was Louise Hay. And again, you don't have to agree with everything she says, neither do I. And she said, your perception of God, it should support you. It should be loving, okay? Because if you believe God is not loving, then you're ruining your health. It's your connection, the crown chakra, it's your connection with God. But it's also in your heart. It's also, okay, if you believe in God. If you're atheist, then also. But your worldview, your philosophy, okay, needs to be loving towards you. If you keep, now there's nothing wrong about reflecting on your ego, reflecting this, reflecting that, okay? But if you kill yourself with criticism and you leave no place for self-compassion for yourself and for others, okay, well, state in firm boundaries. Whenever you can, attend to that, how much ever you can, okay? Because those things, when they are established, they need to come in spirit and in matter. For example, it's like, oh, everybody spread awareness for violence in relationship. Wunderbar. But if you steal money from the supermarket, or if you steal food from the supermarket, everybody goes, oh my God. What? Because if you ask, then they will try to get sex from you and it's not sex, it's rape, right? And you need a representation, for otherwise either they don't hear you out. You need a representation, but the welfare did kidnap kids, right? And if they cannot kidnap the kids, they try to confiscate your ability to have housing that is your own. They come to a shelter. What is this shelter? Geert Wilders live in a shelter. 20 sees his wife twice a week. Maybe you would say it's recipe for perfect marriage, but not when you're in jail. Called the safety house. There's hardly anything safe about his house, but he has to thank police all the time. And be threatened by the same people of the same cult. and then, of course, there's the guy with the bomb in the bedroom. So again, whatever it is, if the policy of your country is not loving, but the fact that we deal with that as a pandemic, it means we're all awakening to something. When it was in the mental health, and people tell you, it's not from the pill, you have a pyramidal or extra pyramidal. And then, of course, it's like, oh, now we bring that to justice, we put electrodes. This is a MK Ultra, that's the WHO. That's why even the people that were torturing people, yes, even they spoke against this WHO. That's MK Ultra. From very young age, when I was 12, I first learned about Hitler. And I knew I would be doing something with inverting the inversion. I had no idea that I would be living in the same times Hitler lived, and my job to be able to flip over for the darkness back to the light. It could be psychopomp as well, but whatever they try to flip it to the dark side, then my job is to flip it back to the light. It's very likely my soul decided, they said, you must come down here, you must come down. I said, I don't want, you must come for the one condition only. I'm not double agent. I flipped everything to the light. Okay? I knew a very, very young age. I said that if I would be anybody, okay, then I would take, if you take of what Hitler did and turn it but to the light, so everything like he did, but instead of for the darkness, for the light. I didn't know that he himself inverted, let's say, took the swastika, okay? It was light, love, abundance, and whatnot, health, and then he flipped it. Okay, that's the satanic also, okay? They flip the inversions. Gigi Young talked about these inversions way before, as a couple of years ago. It's very good teaching. Then she became a Christian. Then, I mean, I'm all for Christ consciousness, but this one world religion is getting me a bit itchy. Okay? But before that, a lot of good content as well. Also right now, it's just, you have to, as any place, you have to filter what fits for you. And I knew from very young age that I would be taken for what is inverted, but I didn't know that it was inverted. I just thought it was malefic, and turn it to the light. It's very interesting because in 2007 I ran into a musician that was completely MK Ultra. We ruined each other's lives and our own souls, but he was like from this fraternities, brotherhood, I don't know what cults, and he had tremendous torture because they doing mind control and stuff like that, but I understand he was very likely tortured. But what good thing he was doing, because people would write lyrics, okay? He would always give the credit for the people that he would edit the lyrics. And then he would change the lyrics for whenever somebody was negative, he would change it for the positive. And that was how he wrote his song, and then he performed it like that. And funnily enough, he was German. So, I don't know, I guess maybe I'm supposed to do that here, supposed to do that there. Hopefully manages to get rid of this MK Ultra thingy. Not to be a double agent, because it's not the best form of life, I can tell. And even after dying, the recoveries... they have a love buffer, but when it comes to like the channeling, okay, it's still very emotional. So you would get gaslighting from dead people. Like, you're gaslighting me, okay? Okay. And of course, you don't know if that's infiltration of this and shapeshift, fine. But the lifestyle of this double agent, this MK Ultra thing, is very, very challenging, okay? It's... Now, it doesn't mean you should not expose for what is malefic. Doesn't mean you should not talk about dark things, because that is also another spiritual bypass. It's good to focus on the good things. But when that's inverted, it's good to flip it back. But also deplete those who keep doing that from their potency to do that. It's okay. It's also how you acquire peace within the situation. As I go back to the stories of Mr. Coiner, which is Kiner, okay, for the person of a nobody, okay? And again, I wouldn't agree with everything. There's a lot of spiritual bypass there in retrospective, okay? Back then it was like it's the Bible. But one thing he writes about the love of a country, which is very relevant. He says the love of a country, is the love of your own country. When it expresses itself as loving your country, is very beautiful. But when it begins to express itself as a hatred of anything that is not your country, it's no longer loving, right? You think about it as your soccer team, as your tribe, as your family, as your motherland, as your people. And that's going to be key to surviving these turbulent times that we are in. Now, if you ask until when, Uranus is going to go over Algol again. When it turns direct, and then proceed for the next degrees in Taurus, and ingress into Gemini. The entire thing is supposed to be until the 2025-6. Then it meets Sedna, which is something we haven't seen in humanity yet. Okay, Uranus meets Sedna in Gemini. We haven't seen that thing yet. But I think that for the Inuit, if they still build igloos, this would be the time that I would begin to build a bit more igloos, because this is the sign of duality. At least 2 igloos for household. Okay, but household, I mean 2 people. An igloo for children. Begin to think like that. Already. Because with Sedna's story, either it would, we will have the asteroid Sedna, but we will not have the Inuit. Or we begin to accommodate for Sedna. Okay, if you're Inuk, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? To accommodate for Sedna in your tribe. Well, who is the Sedna? Who is the Sedna person in your tribe, in your family? And accommodate for them with housing, with food. The solitary man, the solitary woman. Either we're going to do that, or an Inuit is the basis for all society, so that means humanity. It's not just, oh, there's this tribe that lives in Alaska. No. It's the basis for the indigenous tribes. That's the basis for civilization. That's the basis of humanity. So if something happens to Inuit, they hold the candle. Okay, Inuit still the highest suicide rates because of incest. This is Inuits' insight into their own culture. Okay, I'm not decided for everyone. It's something I heard from Inuit people speak about for their own culture. And of course, colonialism doesn't make problem easier. Challenging with hunting, because they know how much to hunt, how to hunt, okay, for the seafood, doesn't make that problem easier. But they hold the candle for all society. If they go extinct, it's not like we remain, okay? Because what would it take for people who live in the snow to go extinct, right? Either there would be sudden dryness, so depletion of water, or ice age, neither which humanity survives. They had extreme temperatures. Or an A-bomb, that's, yes. And people feel what happens on this soil, on that soil. You feel that our bodies are also, okay, connected, interconnected. With Sedna in Gemini, a lot of people will get that. Now she is in Gemini. Okay, when she first ingressed into Gemini, that was when before that, I was treating a toenail fungi, and then got channeling, we are removing the band-aid. And I thought it's for me, okay, the welfare income, so, but it felt very terrifying because I was also very depleted. And it said, removing the Gaza. The Gaza is like a band-aid in Hebrew. And immediately I realized this Gaza strip, since the band-aid is like a strip, the Gaza strip. And it was the plaster, removing the plaster. And it's like a strip. It's the Gaza strip. And I felt this, like, I cannot say fright, because you feel like the perception of gravity changes. It's something like the gravity becomes more dull. But then when they did that, they discovered the toxic fungi on the soil of Gaza. So people would anyway need to move. And fungi is stagnation that's created a long time. Okay, for fungi to be toxic, it really takes something, because you have to grow it. Okay, it's years and years. It's not something that you can say, one thing or another. And then they grow only one main crop, which is the olive oils, olive trees. Okay, it's not good. It's not biodiversity. And then they keep wanting to come back for the same land. What you have to give a soil to rest, whereas the Jews, the opposite polarity, all the 7th October hits, colony in Thailand. On the other hand, those that were in Europe traveled back, so constant exchange between people, all the time traveling. Now, it's very good for the soil. What happens in terms of the soil? You have one people, you could knock an A-bomb on them, they come back with the radiation, we stay here on the land, okay? Other type of people, some people come back, some people go, some people here, some people there, and all the time changes. What will happen? Those people that we stay on the land, they will go into the areas where people all the time change, so there's some stability. And for the people that we go here, we go there, we go there, we go there, you go to Gaza. Okay? And remove for the toxicity of the soil. Create rejuvenation in the soil. Not the same crop, only one crop. It kills the olive trees. Only one crop. Okay? The soil needs biodiversity. Otherwise, the entire world runs out of olive oil, which is bad because it's a great oil. Reminds me that I had some olives in my pocket and I washed my pants. I have washed olives. It's now the season for when, so you can see them in some places here still, together with other trees. So again, if your heritage is not loving, doesn't have good balance between rest or to stay in one place and to travel, then what comes is a crisis. And then we have the changes now. As reluctant as people are for these changes, then, okay, this is what we see. If the Masonry are reluctant to change the cult of division and curses, then they are persecuted every time. Okay, if the Jews Orthodox are reluctant to change the genitalia mutilation and the blood on the white sheet, okay, it's problem for the heritage and the lineage of the Jews. Okay, you can keep the old things, but some things you do need to rejuvenate. The same with Christians, okay, Puritanism. Okay, the same people that have torture people to death and electrocute them and then call them whores, but the same people that say sex even within marriage is sin. These are problems in Christianity, okay? Islam, I won't even talk about. Just passing the torch to Wilders, because he had it right. It's true. Any Muslim will tell you that. Just I was doing the half moons in the gardens, came a Arabic Bedouin man, tries to offer me business. Yes, not to make half moons in the garden. I tell him, what happens when men do that? First the women run, then the mothers run, then all the these women run, then what happens? Men kill themselves by the hundreds. It's exactly what I'm talking about, because it's exactly what's happening in Bedouin society. If a man cannot live alone, and if a woman cannot live alone, in terms of housing, what happens to the village? How should we address this? Laserroute. Okay, so if I had to guess which towns will be lasered, well, first the towns where a man cannot live alone and a woman cannot live alone. When I was today, they were bombing Nahariya, and bombing Nahariya is a city in the northern Israel. And I sit next to two prison guards at the train. And she said, bombing Nahariya, bombing Nahariya. And I said to her, listen, in COVID, I was in between houses. A social worker there told me, I don't have a 5-star hotel for you. Before 7th October, right? 7th October with the invasion, they evacuated the people. Never go on a government bus, okay? For 5-star hotels in the Dead Sea. Then suddenly they had 5-star hotels. Of course, there was human trafficking, there was pandemic, there was many things there. Now, Bombay, the entire area, entire north had to evacuate. In the north, in Pardes Khane, okay, for the only place I've seen that. Probably not only there. You have 2-3 roommates, okay? Each person has their own contract, right? One roommate leaves, the other two need to pay for their unit. And it's students, they don't have the money. What, they are just waiting to try to exploit, to make it a sex trafficking. Okay, Netherlands is Netherlands is another. Netherlands, I addressed Netherlands, okay? It's electric revolution, tsunami, electric tsunami, fire and water. But of course, those cities will be lasered very quickly. Arad city. I don't need to tell you, right? If there are cameras in certain apartments and that, who's going to be lasered? Ask Michelle, do you think Amsterdam will be lasered? Do you think not? The Hague? Maybe it's going to be like the Whoopi Goldberg house for Maui. We have entire The Hague, except for one apartment. Somebody might need it upon retirement if he doesn't go to a bunker in Albania. No, but Brussels will be lasered. I mean, let's talk about this. But then there are the places where they have the most ritual sacrifice. They do keep them a little bit for a privilege. This is how you get to know for which places weren't, okay, for evacuated and bombed and this and that, in Arad, okay, for they have a lot of ritual satanic abuse, okay, for the pyramid. There's hardly any bombs. It's not because they don't get there, but the Bedouin villages next to it, wah. For I live in Beersheba, they would bomb, you see, tell this, tell that, ella this, ella that, ella that, ella that, ella that. I know immediately I have to prepare myself, wear my shoes on. Soon I'm going to the stairs because they're going to get to Beersheba. But the Beersheba, they're also Jews there. First they bomb all the Palestinians and then the Jews. Why? Because these Palestinians, they had no money. 48, they had no money, so they had to stay. The double engine, don't worry, the double engine went to Gaza. Because they were dismissed off, right? So it's not like their intelligence, no, none of that. They had no money to live, so they stayed. And they're bombed and bombed and bombed. If they go shopping in Gaza, they're treated like capos. Because they have a blue ID. Yeah, we have the word capo, not the capo that you put on the guitar. Capo is therefore the Jews that were cooperating with Nazi regimes. Some of them were cruel to the Nazis. Some of them not. Okay, some of them were just trying to smuggle people. Okay, but some of them, depending. Okay, as people. So were the Nazis, right? It's the same years we are living in right now. So those who say we cannot compare, Uranus was on Algol between 1939 to 1941. Then you get for the couple of degrees until it leaves Taurus. A little bit of Gemini. For the fifth lunar mansion, it gets a 1945. Pluto ingress to Leo. Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Right now we're at the polar opposite. And the Mars opposition is a good reminder. But this is true. When men take the anger on the woman, that place lasered first. World war, mandatory recruitments, all to war. Then women can vote, open bank account. That's the usual, right? Why? Because the division succeeded. That's just what happens. Where people religiously persecute one another, even with the same religion, different streams, different this, different that, different that. You are not Jew, you are not Muslim. For Hitler, everybody's a Jew. Very inclusive. Yeah, the Aries, okay, that it talks about being excluded or included, next to moon peoples, between moon peoples and Jupiter. Faith, belief. Everybody is a Jew. You don't like what the other person does? Jew. You don't think artists should get paid? Jew. Your work will set you free. Everybody needs to work in every job? Jew. Now, as a person who tried to work in every job, and I've tried quite some jobs, and I can tell you how sick I got each time I tried, on the low. Just think about this. Adolf Hitler in a farm, painting Mother Nature and the cabin in the woods. Is that such a parasite on society? Why? Because he didn't get into either sex trafficking or perpetual war? Then he wrote a book about this, so he gets cyanide. That's the time of the seasons. And again, it is okay to dislike. But if you are invested in hatred, as I'm not an investment advisor, but those seems to not yield very much. If you're invested in slavery, which is a form of hatred, or sex slavery, which is another form of hatred, then again, you are invested very deeply in something that is as guaranteed to fail as death. But I ask, how do you recognize a billionaire in our society that is colonialism and slavery based? Very simple. The eyes a bit yellow. Or red. Pupils diluted. Basically, you want to offer them a shelter. Those of you who are very energy sensitive, you might feel the energy of the amphetamines. Or if they are crushed, then it's cocaine. Prone to drowning by orcas. So I guess that has a mention that they cannot sell even for $1. But they once thought it's a very good idea for a real estate investment. Mostly, what? MK Ultra, what? Musk? MK Ultra. The Mol X, okay, it's MK Ultra. It's the same. Okay? Sends eggplants to the fired employees. Yes, he wanted attention. Okay, fine. But this is how you identify a billionaire in this day and age. So you say, do you want to be a billionaire? Well, if I can keep my eyes in same color, pupils around same size, a good night's sleep, wave frequency. As you said, there's a lot of conditions. And that is good because it means that your wealth needs to be loving towards you. And you'd find that the wealth that is depriving of others is not so loving towards you. So it doesn't mean that we don't eat or that we don't consume or anything like that. Yes, but if you take it to the other polarity where everybody's consumption, and they do in the cults, okay, that they do go all that way. So knowing that all of these things, your government's policy, your religion, your philosophy, your modalities of therapy, your society, your love life, okay, that it should be loving. This is a key thing to remember at the age where everybody tried to get you into some cult. Even when you channel, okay, that should be loving. What is not loving is not real, very simply put.